approach all things.
With reason.
Reason.
Reasonable.
Dissent.
Reasonable Dissent with the BlackWolf and Kopus Milady.
What's the saying?
Build first, design later.
Build first, design later.
Yeah. So the idea the idea of build first, design later actually came to me. I have a friend who was wanting to build custom furniture, and his idea originally was he wanted to do it with pallets of wood. When I got all the wood to his house, he was bouncing around back and forth on his phone, just doing this like crazy. While I was pulling the wood out, his girlfriend was pulling the nails out, and he's still coming up with a design, trying to come up with a design. And I just told him, I said, look, you need to forget about all that right now. Just start building.
Wow.
And he didn't. It took a couple of times to finally stop him and say, look, you need to stop. Build first, design later.
When it comes to thoughts, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Because it's easy for me to get a blank piece of paper and just start writing.
Yes.
And then it morphs into whatever it's supposed to become.
Exactly.
But
sometimes the
doing
idea
that with
wants...
actual like wood,
Yeah.
that's foreign to me because I've never actually built anything without some IKEA instructions. So it would be really, but you know,
It'd be a new experience for you, wouldn't it?
It'd be a new experience. All the art I've done in terms of, you know, drawing and painting, I've done just that way though. I don't even have a concept in mind. I don't even know if I'm going to paint a clown or a tree. It's just like, let's see where the colors kind of make themselves. And
You'd be surprised how many things that we want to create actually want to be created in their own way, and they will tell you what they want you to add to them.
that's interesting. So you think everything's alive?
No, I think that the idea is alive. Whatever the idea is that you're trying to create, the idea itself is alive, and whatever physical form it's supposed to take, the idea is telling you what needs to go in there. This is just sort of the way I see it.
Sure.
Sort of like if you're building something, like building a table, you don't know what you want to do. The idea knows what needs to go into that table.
Yeah, in my day job, I'm a reseller, and a lot of times I pick things up, and I don't know what box it's going to go into when it sells.
Right.
But for some reason, whenever that item sells, I just happen to have the perfect box close by, and I don't think about it, you know. With that being said, I've had a couple of returns, perhaps.
The box sucks.
Because I didn't pack it correctly, but that's just part of the process.
Right.
I don't think it was the box's fault, you know.
I think a lot of times,
2 boxes.
I think a lot of times one of the biggest problems that we tend to have is that we're too. We live in a world where everything's got to be now. It's got to be fast. You got to be on your feet all the time. We're not thinking. We don't take our time. Slow down.
Sure.
And I think that's actually. There's a time when, so like where you're talking about trying to pick the right box. Sometimes you got to just sit down, slow down, and go, I know what box this will go with. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then there are times when you just have to pick up and go, rather than planning.
We're always anticipating on what comes after the post office.
Yeah.
You know, we're not thinking about getting that item shipped out correctly. We're thinking about, well, you know what are we going to have for lunch?
Yeah.
And then while you're inside
thinking about everything but
lunch,
what we're
you're
doing.
thinking about
Yeah.
what you're going to eat for dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
We're not thinking in the moment.
yeah, and that robs you of life.
It does. It does.
That's one of the reasons I like filming. Because it forces me to be inside the moment. Art forces me to be inside the moment.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to my tone. You know, I'm paying attention to how I'm sitting. And, you know, that's very yogi-like. You know, where you're there. I've taken a few classes where, like, now pay attention to your pinky toe.
Yeah.
That's all I want you to do is be in that pinky toe.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's incredible because you can do that, but 90% of the time I'm having an out-of-the-body experience. I'm not in my body at all.
Right, exactly. It's actually one of those things that you can actually become so aware of your body that you know exactly where every bit of tension is. Any bit of tension spreads, and then that can actually block your thinking. A lot of people don't realize that. So I think that one of the things that inspired me to make that statement about build first, design later, is the fact that sometimes when you start to allow yourself to get bogged down in the idea of what comes next, you're too busy planning. There was a song I heard on Palapa Mac Radio. It was pretty good. It said, "Too much wishing, not enough fishing." Right? You're too busy planning the trip. You're not enjoying the time.
Yeah, and when you're young, like a young fighter, you see a young fighter, they're not thinking so much from experience. Oh, if I rush in too quick, I'm going to get smashed.
Yeah.
They're just doing it. And you see the most exciting fights and the most innovative moves at that
And sometimes they win that way too.
Right. But when you become
But there comes a point where the aggression
veteran,
has to step aside.
Yeah. And you're a crafty veteran. Sometimes you get that paralysis by analysis because you've been there before, you feel it, and you're expecting it to go the exact same way it went last time.
The anxiety kicks in.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think that's one of the interesting things about aging.
Yeah.
Like I've done a lot of different projects now. So I have experience.
Yeah.
And that's great. And I'm going to avoid a lot of the pitfalls that I made.
Yeah.
Terrible pitfalls I've made in my youth. Wasted money, wasted time, wasted resources, broke relationships apart because of bad communication pitfalls, right? But now that I'm older, it's harder to get moving and get that sense of inspiration.
Yeah. And
how do you fight that as you grow older? I mean,
you're only asking me that because I'm 1 year older than you. But anyway, my thing is, and it's hard for me too. But my thing is, you just got to get up and go for it. And whatever it is that you had planned, you start getting caught up in that analysis. You start getting caught up in where things could go wrong. You just got to do it. Because, so like I just recently wrote a book, and actually wanted to have it here today, but I didn't get it in. I just recently wrote a book, and
we'll have a link for it, I'm sure.
I'm sorry?
I said we'll have a link for the book.
We'll have a link for the book somewhere. But I'm still looking for that link. Anyway, oh, that's right. It's not a physical thing. But one of the things that held me back for so many years during thinking about writing a book was that I was thinking about writing a book. And then I start to realize how much detail goes into just the planning of the book and the organization of the book. And you got to do this, and you got to do the outline. You got to, all the stuff that I was taught when I was a kid. And I got to realize that that's stopping me.
Sure.
Right? And then I get depressed. And then I get discouraged. Then I start feeling worthless. Then I start this. Sit down and write it. Sit down and do the thing. Build first, design later. Let it go. Let it take its own form. That's how the book basically wrote itself. The struggle for identity. The book basically wrote itself. The moment I sat down and started writing, the ideas just started flowing. And I think that's where we start to hit our pitfalls, is that we, Grant Cardone puts it this way. He says, commit first, figure the rest out later. And there comes a point where we do have to just commit to the idea. Go for it. Attack the idea. And whatever comes, and adapt to it when it comes. But as we get older, we start to get stuck in the anxiety of what's happened in the past.
Sure. What do you think commitment really is? Because, I mean, it's not something we can grab. It's not something that we can hold down. It's an action.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
So committing to the action is, when I put some thought to it, it's, once you're in motion, once you're in a position where there is no stopping you, you're now committed to it. There was a thing that popped up on Facebook a while back that showed a guy 747 taking off, and it was a bad takeoff. And somebody wrote in the comments and said, once you're committed to that takeoff, You got to go with it all the way. Otherwise, you crash the plane. And I got to thinking about what that meant. And basically, it was once you're at speed, once you're moving, you're committed. You have to go for it all the way. You can't stop. Because what will happen is you'll stop to think about it. And that thinking about it will slow you down. You start.
So what you're talking about is momentum there. Once you got the momentum driving you, then
Just
you're already committed.
Just do it, and then the momentum will kick in from there.
Yeah. I think a lot of people struggle with the idea of commitment. A lot of people, maybe they fear commitment, or maybe I think it's a practice.
What could go wrong?
I think it's a practice, and I think that it's something you're not used to. And if you're used to quitting, and you're used to bailing on your commitments or your reservations or your plans, then that becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So commitment's almost a lifestyle.
Yeah. It's a matter of, damn what may come, I'm doing it. You know?
Right.
There was, Jordan Peterson put it this way when it came to speaking the truth, was that tell the truth and whatever happens next is the best thing that could happen. Just once you're in the process, once you've made the decision to move forward with it, you just get moving. You just go for it. And whatever's going to try to stop you is going to come. But you just got to be willing to deal with it. So like when I'm working with animals, so I've been a primal behavior specialist now for several years. I've studied primal behavior. And one of the things that I observed when it comes to the way dogs interact with each other, and particularly with the rest of the pack, is that the alpha, he doesn't have to dominate all the time. Okay? When you have something that has to dominate all the time, they're not alpha.
Sure.
Right? They're trying to get attention. So this primatological idea that humans are primates and we have to constantly assert our dominance and all this other stuff, that's not alpha. A true alpha, he's moving forward wherever he's planning. Okay? And if he stops to focus on this distraction over here, this distraction over here, whatever's attacking him here, whatever's attacking him here, if he keeps focusing on that, he'll never get to his goal. You focus on the goal. Whatever comes and attacks you, you're focused on the goal. You're moving forward.
Sure.
You only deal with it if whatever's coming at you is here. And it's not always here.
I think for me, coming up with the goal at this age is more of a daunting task than staying committed. Once I'm in, I'm in.
Yeah.
And, that's the benefit of not being in. That's the benefit of living a life of disappointing myself. So I've done that enough times to know, hey, look, if I'm going to get started on something, I'm going to give it my all. And I might have my reservations, but once I'm going, I'm going.
Exactly.
But I think it's difficult to sometimes pinpoint what it is that you should be focusing on. And with your idea of discover, what's the name of your book again?
Bill, the idea was Bill first designed later. the book is called The Struggle for Identity.
The Struggle for Identity. Well, I think that's a good point to start maybe for our next little tidbit of our next little we're building first and we're designing later. We don't even know what these things are called. Whatever, episodes, I
guess. What's your name? Yeah, these are our episodes. These are our first ones. We're just building first, designing later. We're going to let it go. We didn't even put a whole lot of thought into the set. We just did it. Actually, he did it. I just showed up.
I like the idea of the blank slate.
Exactly.
It's a slate blue. It's a blank slate.
Exactly.
We don't know what's going on.
Let the show tell us what it wants, how it wants to evolve from there.